Pressure doesn't destroy you. It shows you who you really are. That single line captures the heart of how pressure creates diamonds. Life has a way of testing us with constant demands, unexpected challenges, and responsibilities that feel too heavy to carry. But here's the truth most people miss. Pressure isn't the end of you, it's the beginning of your strength. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever been in a situation where everything felt stacked against you, yet somehow you made it through? You didn't just survive, you walked out sharper, stronger, and more capable than before. That is what this message is about. This isn't a talk about avoiding pressure or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about using it. It's about turning weight into discipline, fear into courage, and setbacks into progress. If you're ready to stop running from life's pressure and start using it to shape your lasting identity, then stay with me, because what you'll learn here can change everything about the way you see your struggles, your growth, and your future. Chapter 1. Embrace daily pressure to unlock hidden personal strength. Pressure is part of life. Every single person faces it. Some face it in their work, some face it in their relationships. Some feel it when they look at their bank account. Some feel it when they wake up in the morning wondering if they are strong enough to get through the day. You know that feeling when the weight of responsibility is on your shoulders, when expectations from family, society, or even from yourself seem too high. That is pressure. It is uncomfortable, it is heavy, and sometimes it makes you want to run. But here is the truth. Pressure is not the enemy. It is the very thing that can uncover a strength inside you that you didn't even know was there. When people avoid pressure, they avoid growth. When you choose comfort, you stay the same. The body grows when you put it under stress. Muscles get stronger when you push them harder than yesterday. Your mind works the same way. If you never give it pressure, if you never put yourself in situations where you must rise above the challenge, then you will never discover how capable you truly are. Every day brings small doses of pressure, deadlines, responsibilities, unexpected setbacks. These are not there to break you, they are there to shape you. Think about the times in your life when you felt overwhelmed. Maybe it was a bill you didn't know how to pay. Maybe it was a health issue. Maybe it was losing something important. In those moments you probably thought, I can't handle this. But you did handle it. You figured it out. You adjusted. You kept moving forward. That is what pressure does. It forces you to tap into a part of yourself that is stronger than you thought. The problem is not pressure itself. The problem is how we see it. Most people see pressure as something unfair or something that should not happen to them. They complain, they escape, they avoid it. But if you change the way you see pressure, you change the way you live. Pressure is proof that you are alive, that you are being called to step into more. Pressure means there is something worth fighting for. When you wake up in the morning and you already feel overwhelmed by responsibilities, remind yourself this is life inviting you to grow. You are being stretched because you have more inside you. Every time you embrace that pressure, you unlock new levels of personal strength. You don't find out how strong you are when everything is easy. You find it when you feel like giving up, but you keep moving. There is a part of the human spirit that only wakes up when challenged. You can read all the books, attend all the seminars, listen to all the advice, but until life squeezes you a little, you will never fully know who you are. The pressure is the trigger that calls out your hidden strength. Think about a student studying for an exam. The pressure of that deadline forces focus. Without that pressure, the student might wander through the weeks without effort. Or think about someone training for a marathon. The pressure of the race date keeps them disciplined to train every day. Without it, they might skip runs or lose commitment. Pressure forces you to take life seriously. It demands your best. Now, there is a difference between pressure and stress. Pressure can be healthy when embraced. Stress comes when we resist it. When you say to yourself, "Why me? Why now? This is too much," the weight feels unbearable. But when you shift the thought to, "This is my chance to grow stronger," the pressure becomes energy. Suddenly, it is not against you, it is for you. Pressure is also a mirror. It reveals your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. When pressure shows that your patience is thin, it is teaching you to grow patience. When pressure reveals you lose focus easily, it is showing you where to train your discipline. Pressure is the most honest teacher. It doesn't lie. It tells you exactly where you need to improve. But here is the powerful part. The more you embrace daily pressure, the less it frightens you. What used to feel overwhelming becomes normal. What used to break you becomes manageable. Over time, your capacity grows. Imagine someone lifting weights in the gym. At first, the bar feels impossible, but with practice, the same weight becomes easy. Life's pressures work the same way. If you face them daily, you grow stronger than you ever imagined. One of the greatest mistakes people make is waiting for life to get easier. They hope the pressure will disappear. But life is not designed to get easier. It is designed to call you higher. If the pressure in your life increases, it is because you are capable of handling more. The goal is not to escape it, but to rise with it. So how do you embrace daily pressure in a practical way? First, you acknowledge it without running. You say to yourself, "This is hard, but I can face it." You take a deep breath and step forward. Second, you break it down into smaller steps. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this big task," you handle one piece at a time. Each small victory builds strength. Third, you remind yourself of past victories. Remember the last time you felt like giving up. You didn't. That memory gives you courage for today. Fourth, you surround yourself with people who encourage you to grow. When you are under pressure, the voices around you matter. Choose the ones that push you forward, not the ones that feed your fear. There is also an inner conversation you must learn. When pressure shows up, you can either say, "This is going to crush me," or you can say, "This is my opportunity to rise." That voice you choose will determine whether you grow or shrink. Another truth about pressure is that it brings clarity. When you are under pressure, you see what really matters. Trivial things fade away. You stop wasting time. Your priorities become sharp. Think of someone facing a serious health scare. Suddenly, the little annoyances no longer matter. They focus on healing, on family, on what counts. Pressure clears the fog and puts life in perspective. Pressure also builds resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back quickly. Every time you handle pressure, you add another layer of resilience. And with resilience, you stop fearing the future. You know you can handle whatever comes. That confidence changes everything. Now, you may wonder, how much pressure is too much? The answer is this. Pressure becomes too much when you stop believing you can handle it. The key is not the weight of the pressure, but the strength of your belief. If you believe you can't, you crumble. If you believe you can, you rise. That is why mindset is critical. Train your mind to see pressure as a gift, not a curse. Daily pressure also creates discipline. Discipline is doing what you need to do, even when you don't feel like it. Pressure reminds you that you don't have time to waste. It keeps you on track. Without pressure, most people procrastinate, drift, or delay. With pressure, you move, you act, you get things done. And when you start to embrace daily pressure, something beautiful happens. You begin to trust yourself. You realize, if I can handle this, I can handle anything. That self-trust is one of the greatest strengths you can have. It carries into every area of your life. Work, family, health, relationships, they all improve when you trust your own resilience. So today, ask yourself, where is the pressure in your life? Instead of wishing it away, step into it. If work feels overwhelming, see it as a chance to grow your focus. If relationships feel strained, see it as a chance to grow patience and understanding. If money is tight, see it as a chance to grow resourcefulness. The very areas where you feel pressure are the areas where your greatest strength is waiting to be unlocked. The truth is, most people never realize their full potential because they spend their life avoiding pressure. They stay in comfort zones, doing just enough to get by, never risking, never stretching. But if you want to grow, if you want to discover what you are truly made of, you must be willing to embrace the pressure that comes with living fully. Pressure tests you, yes, but it also transforms you. The person you are today is not the person you will be tomorrow if you embrace the pressure of today. Each day adds another layer of strength, another piece of wisdom, another measure of resilience. So the next time you feel the weight of life pressing on you, remember this is the process of uncovering your hidden strength. Do not shrink, do not run. Stand tall, breathe deep, and step forward. Because the more pressure you embrace, the more strength you unlock. And one day, you will look back and realize that the very things you thought would break you were the things that built you into someone unstoppable. Chapter 2. Use hard moments to build clarity and sharp focus. Life has a way of bringing us moments that feel almost too heavy to carry. The moments when plans fall apart, when the news is not what you wanted, when disappointment lands hard and unexpected. These hard moments can seem like a fog that clouds your vision, leaving you feeling lost, unsure, or even paralyzed. But here is a truth that few people notice right away. Those same hard moments can become the sharpest teachers in your life. They can clear the noise, sharpen your focus, and bring clarity to what really matters. When everything is easy, it is tempting to drift. When life runs smoothly, you can get distracted, lose sight of priorities, and waste time on things that do not add value. But when life hits hard, when pain or pressure show up, suddenly the unimportant falls away. You begin to see clearly what counts. It is in difficulty that people often find their direction, their determination, and their ability to focus deeply on what must be done. Think about a time you faced something that shook you. Maybe you lost a job, maybe you faced rejection, or maybe you found yourself in a situation where the future seemed uncertain. At first, it hurt. At first, it was confusing. But slowly, as you stepped back, you realized you learned more about yourself in those weeks or months than in years of comfort. The struggle stripped away distractions. It made you ask serious questions. What do I want? What is truly important? What am I willing to fight for? Hardship has a way of forcing honesty. It removes the mask. It shows you where you stand. Clarity is born in the fire of difficulty. When pressure shows up, you cannot waste time chasing everything at once. You must decide. You must focus. Hard moments don't give you the luxury of half-hearted living. They demand commitment. They force you to choose between what matters and what does not, and that is a gift. Some people collapse under that weight because they believe the moment defines them. But it is not the moment that defines you. It is how you respond. If you allow hardship to make you bitter, you lose. If you allow it to teach you, you win. What looks like a breakdown can become a breakthrough if you use it to sharpen your vision. In psychology, there is something powerful about narrowing attention. When a person faces a challenge, the brain cuts out unnecessary input. It does this to help you survive. That same principle can be applied to your personal growth. When life presses hard, instead of resisting, you can lean into it and use it to cut out the clutter. You start asking yourself, what deserves my attention right now? What is worth spending my energy on? Who is worth standing beside me? The answers you find in those questions shape your life in ways comfort never could. Many people live scattered lives because they are never forced to stop and think. They chase too many things, say yes to everything, and never gain clarity. Hard moments interrupt that. They slam the brakes and force you to evaluate. Yes, it is painful. Yes, it is uncomfortable, but it is also necessary. Imagine you are climbing a steep hill with a heavy load. At first, you carry everything with you, bags of doubt, distractions, unnecessary commitments. But as the climb gets harder, you realize you cannot take it all. You begin to drop what you don't need. You keep only what matters. That is how clarity works in the middle of struggle. Life's pressure makes you let go of the useless so you can focus on the essential. One of the most empowering things you can do in a hard moment is ask, "What is this teaching me?" Not in a way that avoids the pain, but in a way that draws out the lesson. The disappointment is there. The setback is real. But hidden inside is a message. Maybe it is teaching you to slow down. Maybe it is teaching you to take responsibility. Maybe it is teaching you to stand firm when everything around you is shaking. If you ask that question with honesty, you will find that pain has a purpose. Clarity is not about having all the answers. It is about knowing the next step. Hard moments sharpen your focus, so you stop worrying about the whole picture and simply move forward with one clear action. When you are under pressure, thinking 10 steps ahead can overwhelm you, but focusing on one clear move gives you progress. That builds momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Hard moments also reveal your values. It is easy to talk about what you believe when nothing challenges you, but when hardship comes, you find out what you truly stand for. If you value honesty, you will be tested when lying looks easier. If you value perseverance, you will be tested when quitting seems tempting. The struggle reveals whether your values are just words or part of your identity. That clarity strengthens your character. People often think clarity will come by waiting for the right time, the right conditions, or the right opportunity. But clarity rarely arrives in calm waters. It usually comes when the storm is loud, and you have no choice but to decide. Pressure speeds up your learning. It strips away illusions. It points you to the heart of things. Now, focus is the companion of clarity. Once you know what matters, focus gives you the power to act on it. Hard moments build focus because they demand your attention. You cannot spread yourself thin when the situation is urgent. You must channel your energy. You must keep your eyes on what counts. And this discipline of focus, once built in tough times, stays with you long after the storm has passed. Consider an athlete preparing for competition. In training, they are tired, sore, and sometimes doubting themselves. Those hard sessions teach them focus. When they are exhausted, they must zero in on form, on breath, on movement. The ability to focus under fatigue is exactly what gives them strength on the day of competition. Life is no different. When you face hard moments, they teach you how to focus when everything feels heavy. That skill becomes a lifelong advantage. Hard moments also sharpen creativity. When things are easy, people don't think deeply. But when resources are limited, when options feel few, the mind begins to innovate. It looks for new ways, different solutions. That clarity of thought born from pressure creates breakthroughs you never would have found otherwise. Many of the most powerful ideas in history came out of hardship, not ease. There is also an emotional clarity that emerges from struggle. When you face pain, you begin to see what truly fulfills you. You realize that possessions, status, or surface-level success don't carry you through. Relationships, purpose, and self-respect do. That realization changes the way you live. It changes how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what you give your heart to. Hardship has a way of refining your emotional world, making you more aware of what gives life meaning. Hard moments, when used wisely, can become turning points. They can push you to reset, to redirect, and to refocus your entire life. But you must choose to see them that way. If you only see the pain, you miss the lesson. If you only see the loss, you miss the growth. But if you step back and pay attention, you can use the moment to shape a clearer, sharper, stronger version of yourself. So how do you begin using hard moments for clarity and focus in practical terms? First, pause before reacting. When life hits, the instinct is to panic, complain, or escape. Instead, take a breath. Allow yourself to feel the weight, but then ask, what does this situation show me about myself? About what I want? About what I need to change? That pause is where clarity begins. Second, write down the lessons. Hard moments pass quickly, but the wisdom can be forgotten just as fast. If you put it on paper, you remind yourself later of what you learned. That record becomes a guide the next time pressure comes. Third, practice choosing one priority. When life feels overwhelming, narrow it down. Pick the one thing that deserves your energy right now. That focus not only reduces anxiety, it multiplies your effectiveness. Fourth, develop the habit of reflection. Spend time each day asking yourself what worked, what didn't, and what can be improved. Reflection turns pain into progress. Without reflection, you risk repeating the same mistakes. Finally, remind yourself that clarity is a process, not a single event. Each hard moment builds another layer. Each challenge sharpens you further. Over time, you become someone who does not fear difficulty, because you know difficulty brings clarity. Hardship is not pleasant. No one seeks it. But when it comes, it can become one of your greatest teachers. It shows you where to focus. It clears away distractions. It pushes you to define what matters most, and it strengthens your ability to stay steady when others fall apart. The measure of a person is not how they act when life is easy. The measure is how they respond when life is hard. If you can train yourself to use those hard moments as fuel for clarity and sharp focus, then no setback will ever truly stop you. It might slow you, it might challenge you, but it will also refine you. And with each challenge, you will find yourself clearer, sharper, and stronger than before.
Chapter 3. Let heavy pressure shape discipline into daily routine. Discipline is not built in moments of comfort. Discipline is forged when the weight of responsibility presses down and you must decide whether to rise or give in. The truth is, pressure can become one of the greatest allies in creating daily routines that last. Without pressure, routines often remain wishes or ideas that fade away. But with pressure, you are pushed to act, to follow through, and to create structure that supports your growth every single day. Think about it. Most people know what they should do. They know they should wake up earlier, eat healthier, save money, learn new skills, or spend more time with their family. But knowing is not enough. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and doing. And what often triggers discipline is the moment when life becomes heavy, when you realize that drifting will cost you too much. Pressure reminds you that you cannot afford to live casually. It demands a decision. When the pressure of deadlines, bills, health concerns, or responsibilities show up, you are forced to look at how you spend your time. Suddenly, scrolling on your phone for hours loses its appeal. Suddenly, staying up late without purpose feels like a waste. Pressure shines a light on how careless habits steal your future. It makes you aware. And that awareness is the seed of discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is saying, I value my future enough to take action today. Heavy pressure brings this truth closer to the surface. It makes you realize that you cannot rely on motivation alone, because motivation comes and goes. What holds you steady is routine, those daily actions repeated whether you feel like it or not. Pressure, when embraced, helps you form that routine. Consider someone struggling financially. The pressure of overdue bills can either break them or wake them up. If they choose the second path, they begin building discipline. They create a daily routine of budgeting, cutting unnecessary expenses, and finding ways to increase income. At first, it feels forced, but over time, that discipline becomes habit. What started as a response to pressure becomes a lifestyle that keeps them secure and strong. The same applies to health. A health scare can become the pressure that pushes someone to finally care for their body. They begin walking daily, drinking water, resting properly, and paying attention to what they eat. At first, it is difficult, but as the routine builds, it becomes natural. Pressure opened the door, discipline built the structure, and routine sustained it. The key is to allow the weight of life to push you toward building systems rather than sinking into excuses. Excuses grow easily in comfort. Systems grow when you are forced to change. Daily routines are nothing more than small systems that keep your life moving in the right direction. Pressure can be the spark that makes you take them seriously. The human mind craves order. When everything feels chaotic, routines provide stability. Heavy pressure often reveals how fragile a life without routine really is. When you live without structure, every new challenge feels like a crisis. But when discipline shapes your days, you handle challenges differently. You do not panic as much because your daily actions have prepared you. Imagine a person trying to stay fit. Without routine, they exercise only when they feel like it, eat well only when it is convenient, and get rest only when nothing else is happening. The moment life brings stress, those habits collapse. But with routine shaped by discipline, the behavior becomes automatic. Pressure outside no longer destroys their progress because the routine holds steady inside. Discipline also builds trust in yourself. Pressure asks, will you quit when things get heavy? Discipline answers, no, I will show up anyway. Each time you honor your daily routine under pressure, you prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. That self-trust is invaluable. It builds confidence and reduces fear of the future. It is important to understand that discipline is not about giant leaps. It is about consistent, repeatable actions. Pressure does not ask you to transform everything overnight. It asks you to begin. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work you promised yourself. Keep the commitments you made. Those simple acts done daily create extraordinary strength over time. Another powerful truth about pressure and discipline is that routines reduce decision fatigue. When life is heavy, your mind can get overwhelmed with too many choices. Routines solve this problem. They remove unnecessary decisions. You no longer ask yourself if you will exercise, you just do it because it is part of the routine. You no longer debate whether to read, to save money, or to spend time on growth. You follow the structure you already built. Pressure forces you to simplify, and discipline thrives in that simplicity. Pressure also sharpens your awareness of time. When you feel the weight of responsibility, you suddenly realize how limited time is. You begin to value mornings, evenings, and hours you used to waste. This awareness pushes you to build routines that protect your time. You schedule, you prioritize, and you use hours more wisely. Discipline makes sure you keep doing this long after the pressure light. There is also a deep psychological shift that happens when you face heavy pressure and respond with discipline. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as the creator of your day. Instead of saying, life is too hard, you begin saying, I will structure my life so I can handle it. That shift in identity is what makes discipline sustainable. When pressure shapes your discipline into a daily routine, you also discover the power of momentum. At first, routines feel difficult. Waking early, focusing on tasks, practicing self-control, these things require effort. But once the routine is established, it begins to flow. Momentum builds, and what was once hard becomes easier. Pressure was the push, discipline was the builder, and momentum becomes the reward. Some people believe discipline takes away freedom, but the opposite is true. Routines created under discipline give you more freedom because they free you from chaos, from regret, and from the endless burden of making the same decisions again and again. When pressure leads you to build disciplined routines, you gain freedom of mind, freedom of energy, and freedom to create a better future. Heavy pressure can also teach the importance of consistency. Many people start strong but quit when things get uncomfortable. Discipline refuses to quit. Discipline keeps going even when enthusiasm fades. Pressure, when embraced, teaches you the value of persistence, and that persistence becomes part of your routine. Over time, you realize that success is less about talent or luck, and more about disciplined consistency, built day by day. Pressure also builds humility. It shows you that you cannot always control circumstances, but you can control your actions. You cannot control the storms of life, but you can control how you show up each day. That humility keeps you grounded and focused on what you can do, rather than wasting energy on what you cannot. And when your routines are shaped by discipline under pressure, they prepare you for future storms. You may not know what challenges are ahead, but your daily habits become armor. They give you strength, endurance, and resilience. While others are caught unprepared, you will stand firm because you built your life on disciplined actions. The beauty of this process is that what begins as something forced eventually becomes something natural. Pressure may push you at first, but discipline keeps you going. Over time, the routines become second nature. You no longer struggle to start, it becomes part of who you are. That is when you know discipline has done its work. It has transformed from effort into identity. Every person has the ability to live with greater discipline. The question is whether they will use the pressure in their life as fuel or as an excuse. If you choose to let pressure shape you, you will discover that your days take on new structure, new strength, and new purpose. So when the pressure feels heavy, do not resist it. Instead, ask yourself, what routine do I need to build right now? How can I use this moment to create discipline that will last? Then start small. Anchor your days with actions that align with your goals. Protect those actions fiercely. And remember, every time you follow through under pressure, you are not just surviving, you are building the foundation for a stronger, more disciplined life. Over time, you will see the results. You will notice greater focus, deeper self-trust, and more control over your day. You will no longer be tossed around by circumstances, because you have built the routines that hold you steady. And the best part is this: the same pressure that once felt unbearable will have become the very thing that gave you the strength to live with discipline, direction, and purpose every single day.
Chapter 4. Convert emotional stress into steady mental resilience growth. Emotional stress is something every human being faces. It shows up when relationships get complicated, when responsibilities pile up, when dreams take longer than expected, and when life throws problems that feel unfair. Stress weighs on the mind. It steals energy, and it can easily break focus if left unchecked. But emotional stress, if you approach it with a different mindset, can become the very tool that builds resilience. Instead of being crushed by it, you can learn to convert stress into strength. That strength becomes mental resilience, a steady force inside you that carries you through future storms without falling apart. The first thing to understand is that stress is not always an enemy. Stress is a signal. It is your body and mind saying something important is happening, that your attention is required. Too often people interpret stress as a sign of weakness or failure,
They say, "I'm stressed, so I must not be capable." The truth is the opposite. Stress shows you care. It shows you are invested. It shows you are in the game. If you did not care, there would be no stress. This shift in understanding alone begins the process of building resilience. Resilience is the ability to bend without breaking, to recover quickly, and to keep moving when life gets rough. But resilience is not something you inherit, it is something you grow, and emotional stress is the training ground. Just as the body grows stronger when you lift heavier weights, the mind grows stronger when it learns how to handle stress in healthy ways. The problem for most people is not stress itself, but the way they carry it. They absorb it without direction, letting it consume their thoughts, sap their energy, and cloud their judgment. They replay painful conversations, dwell on fears, or allow small issues to expand into overwhelming problems. This approach weakens resilience. But there is another way. You can take emotional stress and channel it into building habits, perspective, and strength. One of the first steps is awareness. You must notice the stress before it controls you. Many people live in reaction, snapping at others, avoiding responsibility, or numbing themselves with distractions. But resilience begins with catching yourself in the moment. When you feel stress rising, heart beating faster, mind racing, emotions boiling, you pause, you breathe, you acknowledge, this is stress, it is here. It is real, but it is not in control of me. That moment of awareness interrupts the spiral and creates space for choice. Once you have awareness, you can use stress as fuel. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What can I do with this?" That single shift changes everything. Stress becomes energy for action. For example, if you are stressed about work deadlines, you can turn that energy into sharper focus and stronger planning. If you are stressed about finances, you can channel that discomfort into learning new skills, saving money, or creating new opportunities. The stress becomes a signal that directs you to act with intention. Another way to convert stress into resilience is through perspective. Stress often magnifies problems, making them look bigger than they are. But resilience grows when you train yourself to see beyond the moment. Ask yourself, will this matter in a month, in a year? What can I learn here? Suddenly the situation shrinks to its real size. It no longer feels like the end of the world. It becomes a challenge that can be managed. Perspective gives the mind strength. Emotional stress can also become resilience when you use it to build patience. Many people want life to move quickly, to give results now, to solve problems immediately. But life does not work that way. Stress often comes from wanting control over what cannot be rushed. The growth of resilience comes when you accept the process. You tell yourself, this is uncomfortable, but I can wait, I can endure, I can stay steady. That endurance is the essence of resilience. Stress also teaches you about emotional management. In hard moments, you are tempted to lash out, to complain, or to shut down. But when you decide to handle emotions differently, you create inner strength. Instead of snapping, you choose calm words. Instead of complaining, you choose problem solve. Instead of shutting down, you choose small steps forward. Each time you respond in this way, your resilience grows. You prove to yourself that emotions do not control you. You control your response. Physical practices can also transform stress into resilience. The body and mind are connected. Stress often sits in the body, tight shoulders, shallow breathing, restless energy. If you learn to move your body, breathe deeply, and release tension, your mind follows. Simple daily routines like exercise, meditation, journaling, or even walking outdoors train your body to handle stress, which in turn trains your mind. The more you practice these, the more resilience you build, because you learn that stress can be managed, not feared. Connection with others also plays a role. Stress often isolates people, making them feel alone in their struggles. But resilience grows when you share with trusted friends, mentors, or family. Talking about what you feel reduces the weight and listening to others reminds you that you are not the only one facing challenges. Relationships act like support beams. They don't remove the storm, but they keep you from collapsing under it. Another powerful way to turn emotional stress into resilience is by reframing failure. Many people see failure as proof they are not good enough, but resilient people see failure as information. Stress often follows failure because you feel disappointed or judged, but if you reframe it as feedback, you gain clarity. You tell yourself, "This didn't work, but I learned something valuable." Over time, this mindset makes you stronger because failure no longer scares you, it sharpens you. Resilience also grows when you practice gratitude during stress. It may sound difficult, but gratitude shifts your focus. Instead of being consumed by what is wrong, you remind yourself of what is still good. Even in the darkest seasons, there is something to hold on to. A friend who cares, a lesson learned, an opportunity waiting. Gratitude doesn't remove stress, but it balances it with hope. That balance strengthens the mind. One of the most overlooked aspects of resilience is self-compassion. When people feel stress, they often become harsh toward themselves. They say, "I should be stronger, I shouldn't feel this way." But resilience is not built through self-criticism. It grows through self-kindness. Treat yourself as you would treat a close friend. Encourage yourself, remind yourself that it's okay to feel stress, and then push yourself gently but firmly to keep going. This balance of compassion and determination keeps you from burning out. Stress also sharpens decision-making. In moments of pressure, you do not have time to analyze endlessly. You must choose each time you make decisions under stress. You train your mind to trust itself. Over time you grow quicker, calmer and more confident. This decisiveness is another layer of resilience, because it prevents you from freezing when life gets tough. Resilience is not about never feeling stress again. It is about building the strength to handle it better each time it shows up. Every stressful experience becomes a small training session. You feel it, you face it, you learn from it, and you grow stronger for the next round. Over time, what once overwhelmed you becomes something you can handle with ease. That growth is the proof of resilience. It is also important to understand that resilience is not built in giant leaps. It is built daily. Small responses to stress shape who you become. Choosing to breathe instead of panic, choosing to focus instead of complain, choosing to move forward instead of quit. These daily choices accumulate. One day, you wake up and realize you are no longer the same person you used to be. The stress that once felt unbearable now feels manageable, and the problems that once broke you now strengthen you. In the end, emotional stress will always be part of life. You cannot escape it, but you can transform it. Each hard conversation, each setback, each disappointment can become a stepping stone if you choose to use it that way. Instead of asking for an easier life, build a stronger mind. Instead of wishing for no stress, learn to convert it into resilience. And when you do, you begin to live differently. You no longer fear challenges, because you know they will grow you. You no longer see yourself as fragile, because you have evidence of your strength. You no longer collapse at every setback, because you have built an inner core that holds steady. That is the power of turning emotional stress into resilience. It changes not just how you face problems, but how you live your entire life.
Chapter 5. Challenge yourself under pressure to expand inner limits. There comes a point in every person's life where they realize that the limits they believe they have are not the same as the limits they truly hold. Most people never discover the strength of their potential because they avoid situations that push them to the edge. Pressure reveals the edge. It introduces difficulty, challenge and discomfort that you cannot ignore, and it is in these moments, when life feels heavy and circumstances push hard against you, that you have the choice to grow or retreat. If you choose to challenge yourself under that pressure, you expand the boundaries of who you are. Growth does not come from doing what you already know you can do. Growth comes when you take on something that feels bigger than you.
Pressure shows up in those times when you are unsure, when the task is difficult, and when failure seems possible. Instead of shrinking, this is the exact time to lean in. If you walk toward the pressure, if you say yes to it rather than backing away, you stretch the capacity of your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. That stretch is what creates new strength. Think of people who run long distances. At mile 1 or 2, they feel fine. But as the distance increases, fatigue sets in. Their body begs them to stop. The pressure of pain and exhaustion makes quitting tempting. Yet, if they continue, they break through into new levels of endurance. Their body adapts, their mind sharpens. What once seemed impossible becomes achievable. The same principle applies to every area of life. The only way to expand inner limits is to push them. Most people protect themselves from pressure by staying within the walls of comfort. They choose what feels safe, predictable, and easy. But comfort never creates growth. The moment you decide to challenge yourself when the weight feels heavy is the moment you begin to see what is hidden inside. Pressure is not designed to destroy you, it is designed to stretch you. Without that stretch, you remain smaller than you are capable of being. When pressure rises, a natural instinct is to escape. You may want to delay, to find excuses, or to shift the responsibility elsewhere. But every time you avoid pressure, you reinforce limitation. You teach yourself that you cannot handle more. But when you face it, even trembling, even uncertain, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than your fear allows you to believe. And that proof changes everything. Expanding inner limits under pressure is not about recklessness, it is about intentional stretching. You choose challenges that align with the person you want to become. If you want to become stronger in your work, you take on projects that scare you a little. If you want to grow in relationships, you have difficult conversations instead of avoiding them. If you want to develop emotional strength, you place yourself in situations where you must remain calm under heat. Each of these challenges tests you, and in the process they grow you. There is a hidden treasure inside every human being that only pressure can uncover. You might not think you have patience until life tests it. You might not think you can lead until pressure forces you to step up. You might not think you are resilient until the storm comes, and you keep moving. Each of these qualities is discovered by stepping into pressure, not away from it. Your inner limits are not fixed. They are flexible, and they are expanded only when tested. Pressure stretches them wider each time you choose to embrace it. The first time you face pressure, it feels unbearable. The second time you know you can survive it. The third time you approach it with confidence. This is how limits change. They expand one choice at a time. A powerful way to challenge yourself under pressure is by setting standards higher than comfort allows. If you normally stop at the first sign of struggle, decide to go further. If you normally avoid speaking in front of groups because it makes you anxious, accept the opportunity to do so anyway. Each time you step into pressure, you dismantle the walls that keep you small. Pressure also forces creativity. When resources are low, when time is short, or when obstacles block your path, you are forced to think differently. The mind looks for new solutions, new approaches, and new strategies. That expansion of thought is another way your limits grow. You realize you are capable of more ideas, more resourcefulness, and more problem solving than you imagined. Challenging yourself under pressure also builds mental toughness. It trains you to keep going even when conditions are not ideal. Many people wait for the perfect environment before acting. They say, "I'll try when I feel ready," or "I'll begin when things calm down." But the truth is, waiting never strengthens you. Facing pressure when things are messy, hard, and uncertain is what gives you grit. And grit is what allows you to keep moving when others quit. There is a part of you that only emerges in difficulty. You cannot see it in easy times. It wakes up when the weight is heavy and the road is steep. That part of you is courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act in spite of fear. Pressure calls courage forward, and when you answer, you expand your limits. Another important lesson in challenging yourself under pressure is learning how to manage self-talk. The voice inside your head during pressure will try to convince you to quit. It will say, "This is too much, you can't do it. You should stop." If you listen to that voice, you shrink. But if you replace it with words like, "I can keep going. I am stronger than I feel. I will push one more step," you expand. That inner dialogue can determine whether pressure breaks you or builds you. Challenging yourself under pressure also brings humility. It shows you that you are not perfect, that you will make mistakes, that you will stumble. But humility is not weakness. It is strength, because it keeps you learning. Each mistake becomes a lesson. Each setback becomes a stepping stone. Instead of quitting, you adapt, and in adapting, you expand. One of the greatest benefits of challenging yourself under pressure is the confidence it produces. Every time you overcome something that once intimidated you, confidence grows. You begin to believe in your own ability to face life. That confidence does not make life easier, but it makes you stronger. And strength is what allows you to meet life with steadiness. Your inner limits are like walls built by fear, doubt, and comfort. Pressure is the hammer that breaks those walls. But you must choose to use it. No one else can push you through your own limits. It is a personal decision, a personal commitment, a personal fight. And when you fight through, you find a larger, freer version of yourself on the other side. The process of expanding limits under pressure also prepares you for future challenges. Once you have faced something difficult and survived, the next challenge feels less intimidating. You know you can handle it because you already proved it to yourself. This creates a cycle of growth. Each pressure expands your limits. Each expansion prepares you for more, and over time, you become unshakable. The mistake many people make is wishing for no pressure at all. They think an easy life is the goal, but an easy life is not a fulfilling life. Growth requires resistance. Meaning is found in challenge. Joy comes not from avoiding pressure, but from overcoming it. If you want to discover your fullest potential, you must be willing to challenge yourself when the weight feels heaviest. Challenging yourself under pressure also reveals character. Character is not shown when everything goes well. It is shown when things fall apart, and you choose how to respond. Do you quit? Do you blame? Or do you rise? Each choice shapes your identity. By embracing pressure, you shape yourself into someone dependable, strong, and courageous. Practical steps make this real. Start with small challenges. Choose one area of life where you normally give up early, and push a little further. If you normally quit a workout when you're tired, go 5 minutes more. If you normally stop working on a project when it gets difficult, give yourself an extra hour of focus. Each small decision trains your mind to endure. Over time, these small decisions accumulate and create massive growth. Another practical step is to set challenges on purpose. Do not wait for pressure to find you. Seek it in healthy ways. Sign up for something that scares you. Take on a responsibility that stretches you. Challenge yourself to wake up earlier, to save more, to learn something new. By placing yourself in pressure deliberately, you train yourself to expand limits even before life forces you to. And finally, remember that pressure is temporary, but the strength you gain from it is permanent. The difficulty you face today will pass, but the resilience, confidence, and courage you build will stay with you. That is why pressure is so valuable. It is a short-term challenge with long-term reward. So when life presses on you and you feel like running, remember this is the exact moment where growth is possible. Step into it. Challenge yourself. push past the point where you normally stop. Each time you do, your limits expand, your strength grows, and your life moves closer to its highest potential. This is not about surviving pressure. It is about using it to become someone far greater than you imagined you could be.
Chapter 6. Turn overwhelming weight into courage for bold action. There are times in life when the weight feels unbearable, responsibilities pile up, problems multiply, and you find yourself standing in the middle of pressure that seems too heavy to carry. The natural instinct is to freeze, to hide, or to back away from the load. Yet inside those very moments lies the chance to build something greater than fear: courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward, despite it. And the truth is, overwhelming weight is the perfect ground for courage to grow, because it forces you to act when staying still is no longer an option. When pressure is light, people often remain comfortable. They say, "I'll try tomorrow," or "I'll get to it later." Comfort delays action. But when the weight grows intense, comfort disappears. You either give up or you rise. That heaviness is uncomfortable, but it has a gift. It strips away hesitation. You no longer have the luxury of waiting. You must decide, and in that decision, courage is born. Think about moments in your past when you felt pinned down by life. Maybe it was financial strain that left you wondering how to pay the bills. Maybe it was the loss of something you deeply cared about. Maybe it was the fear of failing in front of others. In those moments, the pressure forced you to face your own limits. And yet, if you chose to act, even trembling, even uncertain, you found that you had more courage than you imagined. That is the secret. Courage reveals itself, not before the weight, but under it. Overwhelming weight also clarifies what matters. When you carry a heavy burden, you don't waste energy on things that do not move you forward. You prioritize. You focus on what will truly make a difference. And when you take bold action, it is not random. It is directed toward what has the greatest impact. Courage becomes precise, purposeful, and meaningful. One of the most paralyzing aspects of pressure is the fear of making the wrong choice. The mind races with what-ifs and doubt. But bold action is not about being certain. It is about moving anyway. Every courageous step you take under weight silences fear a little more. You realize that mistakes do not destroy you. In fact, they teach you. The more you act, the more courage becomes natural. Overwhelming weight often feels like a wall blocking the way. Courage is the decision to push against that wall, to test its strength, and to discover that it is not as unbreakable as it seems. Many of the walls in life are illusions built by fear. They look solid until you lean on them. Bold action reveals the truth, that the barrier is not as strong as the mind believes. Courage is also contagious. When you act under weight, others notice. They see you stepping forward when it would have been easier to collapse, and that example inspires them. Your boldness becomes a spark that lights courage in others. Suddenly, the act of facing your own weight not only strengthens you, it strengthens everyone around you. Another key aspect is that courage under pressure builds identity. Each time you act boldly while carrying heavy responsibility, you send a message to yourself. I am someone who does not quit. I am someone who moves forward, no matter what. Over time, this identity becomes who you are. Courage stops being an occasional response and starts becoming your natural state. It's important to recognize that courage is not loud. Sometimes it is quiet. It might not look like standing on a stage or leading a crowd. It might look like waking up one more day and choosing not to give up. It might look like having a difficult conversation, taking a risk in business, or saying no to something that drains you. The common thread is movement. Courage is choosing movement when fear tells you to freeze. There is also a discipline to courage. You train it like a muscle. Small acts of courage prepare you for larger ones. Speaking up when your voice shakes
prepares you for leadership when responsibility grows. Making one tough decision prepares you for making bigger ones later. Each time you choose courage under weight, you expand your capacity for bolder action. The overwhelming weight of pressure can also serve as a mirror. It shows you the areas where fear still holds you back. If you pay attention, you will notice the patterns. What triggers hesitation? What paralyzes you? What voices in your head grow loud? This awareness is powerful because you cannot change what you do not recognize. With awareness, you can challenge those fears directly and replace them with action. Courage is not reckless impulse. It is intentional boldness. When the weight presses down, courage says, "I will not let this define me." It looks for the next best step, no matter how small, and each step builds momentum. One action becomes two, two become three, and soon you find yourself carrying what once felt unbearable. The weight has not disappeared, but your courage has grown stronger than it. Overwhelming pressure also has a way of breaking down pride. It humbles you, showing that you cannot control everything, and in that humility, courage is easier to find, because you stop trying to be perfect. You realize courage is not about flawless execution. It is about showing up honestly, fully, and bravely. Bold action does not require perfection. It requires willingness. A practical way to turn overwhelming weight into courage is to reframe the story you tell yourself. Instead of saying, "This weight will crush me," you say, "This weight will reveal me." Instead of saying, "I can't do this," you say, "I will discover how to do this." That mental shift does not remove the pressure, but it transforms the way you carry it. Courage thrives when the story changes from defeat to discovery. Another way is to shrink the challenge into steps. Overwhelming weight feels unbearable when you look at it all at once, but if you break it down into actions you can take today, it becomes manageable. Each small act of courage stacks on the next, until suddenly you realize you are moving through something that once seemed impossible. Courage also requires you to confront fear directly. Avoidance feeds fear. Action starves it. If you hide from the things that scare you, they grow larger. If you face them, they shrink. Pressure offers endless opportunities to confront fear, because it forces you to deal with things you would rather avoid. Each time you face it head-on, you weaken its hold over your life. One of the greatest rewards of bold action under weight is freedom. Fear is a prison, and pressure provides the key to unlock it. Each courageous step breaks chains that once held you. You gain freedom to pursue dreams, to speak truth, to live fully. That freedom cannot be bought or given. It is earned through facing pressure and moving anyway. The memory of courage also builds future strength. Once you take bold action in a heavy season, you carry that memory with you. The next time weight returns, you can look back and say, "I handled it then. I can handle it now." This memory creates unshakable confidence, because you are not relying on theory, you are relying on experience. To live with courage under pressure means to accept that life will not always feel light. There will be seasons where everything seems too much, but those seasons are the ones that define you. They refine your spirit, test your heart, and awaken your boldness. The weight may press you down, but it also pushes you up, if you choose to rise. And so the challenge is simple, though not easy. When the overwhelming weight of life arrives, do not run, do not collapse. Choose to stand, choose to act, choose to move in the direction of your values and your vision. Each act of courage will strengthen you. Each step forward will prove your power. And as you continue, you will realize that the weight you once feared has become the very thing that built your boldest, most courageous self. Chapter 7. Channel pressure into consistent progress you can measure. Pressure is not only about survival, it is about direction. When life presses on you, it is tempting to react without purpose, or to waste energy fighting battles that do not move you forward. But pressure, if used wisely, can be channeled into progress that you can actually measure. Progress is not about vague feelings of improvement, it is about concrete steps, actions that can be counted, and growth that can be seen. When you use pressure to create consistent forward movement, you transform situations that once felt heavy into momentum that builds day after day. One of the biggest mistakes people make is seeing pressure only as a burden. They let it create stress without converting that stress into fuel. They complain, worry, or freeze, and the energy of pressure turns destructive. But pressure is energy. It is raw force. Like electricity, it can be dangerous if misused, but if directed into the right channel, it lights up your entire life. The key is deciding where that energy will go and how it will show up in daily action. Consistency is the bridge between pressure and progress. Without consistency, progress comes in bursts and then vanishes. Many people act only when motivated, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Pressure, however, provides constant fuel. If you discipline yourself to channel that fuel into small, steady actions, you create results that can be tracked, improved, and multiplied. This is how you turn heavy seasons into productive seasons. Progress must be measurable. Otherwise, it is just a feeling, and feelings are deceptive. One day you feel like you are improving. The next you feel like you are not, even if you are. When you track your actions, you remove the guesswork. For example, if you commit to exercising under the weight of stress, don't just say, "I worked out." Write down how many minutes, how many reps, how many steps. That number becomes evidence of progress. When you look back and see the increase, you realize that pressure did not hold you back, it pushed you forward. The same applies to work, finances, learning, or relationships. If pressure is pushing you financially, track the dollars saved, the debts reduced, the income earned. If pressure is at work, measure the projects completed, the skills gained, the hours focused. If pressure is in personal growth, count the pages read, the habits built, the promises kept. Measurable progress is motivating. It proves that the weight you are carrying is not wasted. It is being turned into something constructive. Pressure has a way of demanding structure. Without structure, energy leaks. Think of water flowing without a channel. It spreads everywhere but goes nowhere. Pressure in your life must be given structure through routines and tracking. The moment you set a clear target, the pressure you feel becomes focused. It no longer pulls you in every direction. It drives you forward towards something specific. There is also a psychological benefit to measurable progress. The brain responds to evidence. When you see even small wins, it builds confidence. Each small step completed under pressure whispers, "You are moving forward." That voice matters, especially when pressure makes you doubt yourself. The evidence overrides the doubt. The mind begins to associate pressure with productivity rather than paralysis. It is important to remember that progress does not always need to be dramatic. Small progress, repeated, becomes big progress. If you are under pressure to get healthier, losing 1 pound and writing it down is progress. If you are under pressure to learn, reading 10 pages a day is progress. If you are under pressure at work, finishing one difficult task each day is progress. These may seem small, but they compound. Over time, the results become undeniable. Channeling pressure into progress also requires clear goals. Without goals, pressure feels chaotic. You are busy but not effective, active but not productive. Goals give pressure direction. They answer the question, where should this energy go? A goal to run a marathon, build a business, improve health, or strengthen relationships gives pressure a target. Without that target, pressure often turns into stress that burns you out. With a goal, pressure fuels you. Another truth is that pressure increases focus. When you know you have limited time, limited energy, or limited resources, you stop wasting them. You cut out distractions. You give full attention to the task at hand. That is one of the hidden gifts of pressure. It teaches you to focus sharper than comfort ever will. And when you use that focus consistently, progress accelerates. It is also critical to measure progress in a way that inspires, not discourages. If you set impossible targets, pressure becomes crushing. The goal is not to create perfection, but to create proof of movement. If you read 5 pages, celebrate it. If you walked for 15 minutes, record it. If you saved $10, write it down. These small wins accumulate and keep you motivated. They remind you that progress is happening even if the mountain is not yet climbed. Channeling pressure into measurable progress also builds resilience. When life gets heavy again, as it always will, you already have a system. You know how to use weight as fuel, how to track results, and how to stay consistent. You are no longer afraid of pressure because you know it produces growth. This resilience is priceless because it changes your relationship with struggle. Pressure becomes something to work with, not something to fear. A practical method is to create daily non-negotiables, small actions you will complete regardless of how you feel. These actions become anchors. They ensure that even on the hardest days, progress is made. It might be writing a paragraph, walking for 10 minutes, saving $5, or making one phone call. When you keep these commitments under pressure, you prove to yourself that progress is always possible. Another way to use pressure for progress is to build accountability. Share your goals with someone who will encourage you and check on you. Pressure can feel lonely, but when someone else knows what you are aiming for, it adds extra motivation. Accountability creates an external measure to match your internal commitment. Remember that pressure often brings urgency. Urgency can be dangerous if it leads to panic, but it can be powerful if it leads to action. Use urgency to cut out procrastination. Instead of waiting for the right time, start now. Take the step you can take today. Progress builds faster when urgency is embraced, not resisted. Over time, something amazing happens. You begin to associate pressure, not with collapse, but with growth. Each time life presses on you, you know exactly what to do. Channel it into action. Measure the progress. Repeat consistent. You stop dreading pressure and start welcoming it because you have learned it brings results. Life is not about escaping weight. It is about transforming it. Every bit of pressure you face can be redirected into forward motion. Every setback can become a step forward if you track the lessons and act on them. Every overwhelming season can become a productive season if you measure what you do and keep doing it daily. Progress is the antidote to despair. When people feel stuck, they lose hope, but when they see evidence of movement, even small movement, hope grows, and hope under pressure is powerful. It keeps you moving when quitting seems easier. That is why measurable progress is so essential. It shows you that the story is not over, that you are still moving, that weight is being transformed into momentum. The most fulfilling part of this process is looking back and seeing the record of your growth. The notes, the numbers, the evidence of what you did each day under pressure. You realize you are not the same person who started. You are stronger, more consistent, more focused. That realization fuels even greater progress because it gives you undeniable proof of who you are becoming. So the next time you feel life pressing down, don't collapse under the weight. Take that pressure and channel it. Create small actions. Track them. Measure them. Celebrate them. Then repeat. Over time you will build unstoppable progress. And one day, you will look back and see that the very seasons you once feared became the seasons that produced the greatest growth of your life.
Chapter 8. Transform struggles into lessons that refine personal character. Every person carries a story filled with moments that tested them. Times when life felt unfair, times when effort did not match the outcome, times when the weight of circumstances seemed greater than the strength inside. These are struggles. They arrive without warning, stay longer than expected, and often leave scars.
But struggles are not wasted unless we choose to ignore their lessons. Each challenge holds a message, a truth that refines who you are. Personal character is not formed in easy seasons. It is shaped in the fire of difficulty. When you learn to transform your struggles into lessons, you stop being defined by pain and start being strengthened by it. Struggles reveal what cannot be seen in comfort. In good times, it is easy to assume you are patient, disciplined, or resilient, but only in hardship do you find out how deep those qualities really run. Character is tested in the moment when things go wrong, not when everything goes right. The way you respond to struggle is a mirror showing you the reality of your values and beliefs. If you choose honesty when lying seems easier, your integrity is strengthened. If you choose persistence when quitting feels tempting, your perseverance grows. Each decision in the middle of struggle leaves a mark on your character. The truth about life is that struggle is unavoidable. No one escapes it. The difference between those who grow and those who crumble is not the absence of struggle, but the choice of how to use it. Some people see struggles as punishment. They complain, they withdraw, and they carry bitterness. Others see struggles as teachers. They lean in, they learn, and they grow stronger. Both face the same challenges, but their outcomes are completely different. One comes out weaker, the other comes out refined. Transformation begins with perspective. Struggles feel like obstacles, but in reality they are opportunities for refinement. When you shift your view from "this is ruining me" to "this is shaping me," everything changes. The pain does not disappear, but the purpose becomes visible. That purpose is what gives struggle meaning, and meaning is what makes endurance possible. Without meaning, hardship feels unbearable. With meaning, it becomes a tool for growth. Personal character is built from the inside out. Struggles strip away pretense. They show you who you really are beneath the surface. It is easy to speak about kindness when life is smooth, but struggle reveals whether you will remain kind when frustrated. It is easy to claim strength when the load is light, but struggle shows whether your strength is genuine when the load becomes heavy. These lessons are not comfortable, but they are necessary because they refine you into someone real and grounded. The process of turning struggle into lessons starts with asking the right questions. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn here?" Instead of saying, "This is too much," say, "How can this make me stronger?" These questions open your mind to discover it. Every struggle contains information about your limits, your habits, your fears, and your potential. If you pay attention, you will uncover truths that no book or lecture could ever teach you. Struggles also teach humility. They remind you that you are not invincible, that you cannot control everything, and that you still have room to grow. Humility is not weakness, it is strength, because it keeps you learning. When you are humbled by a setback, you gain perspective that prevents arrogance. You realize you need others, you need wisdom, and you need growth. That humility becomes part of your character, making you more grounded and relatable. Another lesson struggles bring is empathy. When you have walked through pain, you understand others who are hurting. You no longer judge quickly because you know how heavy life can feel. This empathy makes you a better friend, a better leader, a better human. Struggles expand your capacity to connect with others, and that depth of character cannot be built in comfort. Struggles refine discipline as well. When nothing is easy, you are forced to choose whether to keep moving or to stop. Each time you continue despite the discomfort, you strengthen your will. Discipline forged in struggle is stronger than discipline built in convenience, because it has been tested. It becomes part of who you are, not just something you do. There is also a hidden strength in failure. Many struggles come disguised as failure. You try and do not succeed. You plan and things fall apart. At first, failure feels like loss, But if you look deeper, it teaches you resilience. It teaches you creativity. It teaches you persistence. Failure strips away illusions and gives you raw experience. Those lessons become tools you carry into the future. They build character that is unshakable because it has already faced defeat and survived. The process of transformation is not quick. Struggles often last longer than you want. But this extended time is part of the refinement. Just as metal is refined in fire, character is refined in the endurance of hardship. Patience grows when you learn to wait. Strength grows when you learn to carry weight over time. Wisdom grows when you reflect on mistakes. All of these qualities are slowly etched into your character by struggle. Reflection is critical. Many people go through struggles but never grow from them because they do not take time to reflect. They rush to escape the pain and move on, but without reflection, the lesson is lost. Reflection means asking, what did I learn about myself? What did I learn about others? What did I discover about life? Writing these lessons down turns struggle into wisdom. That wisdom is what refines your character and shapes how you live going forward. Another key lesson is gratitude. Struggles, paradoxically, can make you more grateful. When life strips away comfort, you notice the small blessings you used to ignore. You appreciate health after sickness. You value peace after conflict. You treasure joy after sorrow. Gratitude built in struggle is deeper than gratitude built in abundance. It is not shallow, it is hard-earned. That gratitude reshapes how you see the world and strengthens your character with perspective. Courage is also born from struggle. When you face what scares you and survive, courage grows. The next time fear appears, you are less intimidated because you remember past victories. Courage refined in hardship is authentic. It is not theory, it is experience. That kind of courage stays with you for life. Struggles teach responsibility. They force you to own your actions, your choices and your outcomes. It is easy to blame others or circumstances, but growth begins when you take responsibility for your role. This honesty builds integrity. Integrity built in hardship is solid because it was not cheap. You earned it by confronting reality and refusing to run from the truth. Personal character, refined through struggle, also becomes inspiring to others. People are not moved by perfection, they are moved by authenticity. When others see that you endured hardship, learned from it and grew stronger, they are encouraged to do the same. Your scars become a source of hope. Your lessons become a guide. Your strength becomes a reminder that struggle can be overcome. It is important to remember that transforming struggles into lessons is a choice. Struggle alone does not guarantee growth. Many people face challenges and come out bitter, resentful, or broken. Growth comes only when you decide to learn. The decision is yours. Will this struggle define me, or will it refine me? The choice determines whether you shrink or expand, whether you weaken or strengthen. Practical application matters here. To transform struggles into lessons, practice pausing before reacting. When hardship comes, breathe. Ask yourself what you can learn. Write it down. Talk to someone you trust about the lessons. Reflect often. And most importantly, apply the lesson in the future. Knowledge without action changes nothing. When the lesson becomes behavior, character is transformed. Over time, you will notice something extraordinary. Struggles that once felt unbearable become milestones of growth. You will look back and see how much stronger, wiser, and more grounded you have become. The very moments that once caused pain will stand as proof of your resilience. They will remind you that struggle was not wasted. It was the sculptor of your character. This is the essence of a meaningful life. It is not built in the absence of difficulty, but in the transformation of it. Struggles will come, but if you commit to turning each one into a lesson, your character will deepen, your perspective will widen, and your strength will multiply. And in the end, you will become someone who does not merely endure struggles, but someone who is refined by them into a person of depth, wisdom, and unshakable integrity.
Chapter 9. Rise stronger by enduring pressure without losing direction. There is a unique strength that emerges when you endure pressure without allowing it to throw you off course. Anyone can stay focused when the path is clear and free of obstacles, but the true test of character is whether you can remain steady when life weighs heavy on your shoulders. Endurance is not simply about surviving, it is about holding on to direction while carrying the load. Many people crumble because they let pressure make them drift, abandoning their values, their goals, or their commitments. But the people who rise stronger are the ones who refuse to lose direction, who carry the weight yet keep their eyes on where they are going. Pressure will test you in ways you never expect. It will show up in your responsibilities, in relationships, in finances, in health, or in the pursuit of your dreams. And when it arrives, the temptation is to scatter your energy. You feel pulled in every direction, trying to do everything at once. That scatter drains you faster than the pressure itself. The lesson is to stay focused on your direction. The weight may slow you, but it does not have to change your path. The most resilient people in history were not the ones who avoided pressure. They were the ones who endured it without losing sight of what mattered most. They had a vision, a set of values, or a purpose that anchored them. Pressure could bend them, but it could not break them, because their direction was clear. Without direction, pressure leaves you wandering. With direction, it becomes resistance that strengthens you. When you face seasons of intense pressure, the first thing you must protect is your clarity of purpose. Ask yourself, what matters most right now? What is my true goal? What am I unwilling to compromise? These questions bring order to chaos. Pressure tries to confuse the mind with urgency and noise, but when you know your direction, you separate the urgent from the important. You avoid wasting energy on distractions and keep investing in what aligns with your purpose. It is easy to let pressure make you reactive. You get so caught up in immediate problems that you forget the bigger picture. That is why endurance is more than survival. Endurance means you handle the present challenge while still remembering where you are headed. You refuse to sacrifice long-term vision for short-term relief. This steadiness is what allows you to rise stronger instead of weaker. Endurance under pressure also builds patience. Most people want quick results. When results delay, they lose focus, abandon the path, and chase shortcuts. But shortcuts rarely build lasting strength. Enduring pressure teaches you to hold steady, to keep moving one step at a time. Patience is not passive, it is active persistence. It is continuing to walk even when the road feels endless. And over time, this kind of endurance gives you confidence that you can face anything without losing your way. There is something powerful about staying faithful to small actions under great weight. You may not be able to do everything when pressure is heavy, but you can always do something. Writing a single page, saving a small amount, having one important conversation. These small actions keep you aligned with your direction. They remind you that progress is still possible. The pressure may slow your pace, but it does not stop your journey. And when you stay consistent with these small steps, you eventually look back and realize you have covered great distance even under the heaviest of loads. A critical part of enduring pressure is controlling your inner dialogue. When weight increases, the mind often whispers, "You can't handle this, you should give up, you'll never make it." If you allow that voice to dominate, you drift off course. But if you replace it with truth, reminding yourself why you started, what matters, and what you've already overcome, you strengthen your resolve. Your mind becomes an ally rather than an enemy. Endurance is as much about managing thoughts as it is about managing action. One of the traps of pressure is comparison.
When you are under strain, it is tempting to look at others who seem to be moving faster or carrying less. That comparison creates discouragement and distracts from your path. Endurance requires you to focus on your journey, your direction, your pace. The weight you carry is shaping you in ways unique to your story. When you stop comparing, you conserve energy for what matters, staying true to your own direction. Pressure also reveals priorities. When everything feels urgent, you are forced to decide what you truly value. These decisions shape your character. If you value integrity, pressure will test whether you will compromise when it's hard. If you value growth, pressure will test whether you keep learning when it's uncomfortable. If you value relationships, pressure will test whether you continue to show care when you feel stretched thin. Every decision made under pressure refines your character and strengthens your direction. Endurance also teaches resilience through rhythm. When the weight is heavy, you must learn how to rest without quitting. Many people push until they burn out, then abandon their direction completely. But those who rise stronger understand rhythm. They take breaks, breathe, and recover, but they never lose sight of the path. Rest is not retreat. It is preparation to continue. This rhythm of endurance ensures you do not lose direction, even when pressure feels endless. There is deep wisdom in slowing down without stopping. Pressure often convinces people that if they cannot move fast, they should not move at all, but that is false. Endurance is about movement, not speed. Even the smallest forward steps keep you aligned with your direction, and those steps, taken faithfully, build strength you did not know you had. Over time, you realize that progress is not about how quickly you move, but about how consistently you stay aligned. Another truth about enduring pressure is that it exposes the unnecessary. When life is heavy, you realize you cannot carry everything. You learn to let go of commitments, habits and attitudes that do not serve your direction. This pruning is painful, but it refines you. It lightens your load so that the energy you do have is invested in what matters. Strangely, pressure simplifies life by removing what is not essential. What remains is your true direction, clearer than before. It is worth remembering that endurance under pressure is not glamorous. It often happens quietly, away from recognition. It is the choice to keep showing up when no one notices. It is the decision to stay faithful to your principles when shortcuts look tempting. It is the quiet strength of continuing when others have stopped. And yet, these unseen choices are what create a life of depth and integrity. The reward comes later, when the strength built in private is revealed in public. To rise stronger under pressure also means embracing setbacks without losing direction. You will stumble. You will fail. Plans will fall apart. Endurance is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Each time you fall, you get back up with the same direction in mind. Each recovery adds another layer of resilience. Eventually, failure loses its power to define you, because you know your direction cannot be taken by one misstep. One of the greatest gifts of enduring pressure is perspective. When you carry heavy loads and still move forward, you gain a deeper understanding of yourself and of life. You realize that most difficulties are temporary, that pressure is a teacher, and that strength grows silently in the shadows of endurance. This perspective keeps you from panicking in future storms, because you remember what you have already survived. Over time, endurance under pressure transforms you into someone unshakable. You may bend, but you do not break. You may slow, but you do not stop. You may struggle, but you do not lose sight of the path. That is strength measured not by how fast you move, but by how firmly you stay aligned with direction, despite the weight. And when you rise from these seasons, you rise stronger, not because the pressure vanished, but because you endured it, not because life got easier, but because you stayed true. Strength is built by those who keep going without losing themselves. The world respects power, but it admires endurance, because endurance proves authenticity. So when pressure bears down on you, remember, it is not the weight that matters most, but the direction you choose to hold. Protect that direction, guard it fiercely, and let endurance carry you forward. The weight may test you, but it will not define you. What defines you is the choice to stay steady, to stay true, and to rise stronger, carrying both the scars and the wisdom of the journey.
Chapter 10. Allow constant pressure to shape lasting, unbreakable identity. Identity is the foundation of how you live, how you think, and how you respond to the world. It is not just the name you carry or the roles you play, but the deep inner truth of who you are. The challenge is that identity is often fragile when it has never been tested. Many people think they know themselves, but when constant pressure arrives, their sense of self begins to shake. That is why allowing pressure to shape your identity is so important. It strips away what is shallow, what is temporary, and what is false, leaving behind something unbreakable. Pressure is relentless. It does not ask for permission, and it does not arrive at convenient times. Yet its constancy is what makes it such a powerful sculptor of identity. When you live through repeated seasons of pressure, you begin to notice what endures and what falls away. You learn which values you truly hold and which ones were only words. You see whether your character is built on surface-level appearance or on deep conviction. Every round of pressure removes another layer of weakness and polishes another layer of strength. There is a difference between identity shaped by comfort and identity shaped by struggle. Comfort builds habits of convenience. Struggle builds habits of resilience. Comfort gives you labels that look good to others. Struggle gives you qualities that cannot be taken away. When you allow constant pressure to shape you, you are not destroyed by it, you are defined by it. The hardships you endure become part of your story, and your story becomes part of your strength. Many people spend their lives chasing external recognition as their identity. They say, "I am successful because people admire me," or "I am valuable because of what I own." But external identity collapses under pressure. The applause stops. The possessions can vanish, the titles can be removed, and when that happens, people who built their identity on those things feel empty. But those who let pressure shape them know that their identity is deeper than status or possessions. It is rooted in perseverance, in courage, in character. That kind of identity cannot be stolen because it was earned through pressure. Unbreakable identity is not about pretending to be invincible. It is about being authentic. Pressure exposes cracks, insecurities, and fears. When you face them, accept them, and grow through them, you no longer need to pretend. You no longer need to wear masks. You become whole. The identity formed in pressure is not flawless, but it is real. And real identity lasts longer than the polished image people try to maintain. Constant pressure also reveals your core values. These are the principles you live by even when life is hard. Anyone can say they value honesty, integrity, discipline, or kindness when nothing challenges them. But when pressure demands shortcuts, when fear tempts compromise, when anger pushes you to retaliate, that is when values are proven. Each choice under pressure carves those values deeper into your identity until they are no longer negotiable. When you allow pressure to shape your identity, you gain something priceless: stability. No matter what happens externally, you know who you are. Circumstances can change, people can leave, opportunities can disappear, but your core remains. That stability gives you peace in chaos and strength in uncertainty. You stop being tossed by every storm because your roots are deep. The process of becoming unbreakable is not quick. Pressure works slowly, like waves shaping stone. Each challenge, each disappointment, each hardship leaves a mark. Some marks hurt, some leave scars, but all of them refine. Over time, you realize that the things that once made you doubt yourself
have become the very experiences that give you confidence. The storms you survived prove that you are stronger than you thought. Those memories become evidence you can draw on every time new pressure arrives. Identity shaped by pressure is also deeply connected to responsibility. When life weighs on you, you realize you cannot live careless. You cannot afford to waste time or energy. You begin to take ownership of your choices, your actions, and your future. Responsibility becomes part of who you are, not because it is easy, but because pressure demanded it. This sense of ownership strengthens your identity and keeps you grounded. There is also freedom in unbreakable identity. When you know who you are, external opinions lose their power. Criticism does not shake you, and praise does not control you. Pressure has already tested you, and you have already proven to yourself who you are. That inner certainty frees you from the need for constant validation. You live by conviction, not by approval. To allow pressure to shape identity requires courage to face pain instead of running from it. Many people escape into distractions, work, entertainment, substances, or relationships to avoid the discomfort of pressure, but avoidance delays growth. The people who become unbreakable are those who lean into the struggle, who ask, "What is this teaching me? How is this shaping me?" and who are willing to endure discomfort in exchange for transformation. The beauty of this process is that it creates consistency. An identity built under pressure is not one person today and another person tomorrow. It is steady, predictable, and reliable. People know where you stand. They know your word means something. They know your actions align with your principles. Consistency builds trust, and trust strengthens both your relationships and your influence. Constant pressure also cultivates resilience that becomes part of your identity. You are no longer someone who simply reacts to challenges. You are someone who adapts, learns, and continues forward. You begin to see obstacles differently, not as reasons to quit, but as opportunities to prove your strength again. This resilience becomes instinctive. You don't have to remind yourself to endure. It has become who you are. Another powerful outcome of letting pressure shape identity is perspective. When you have carried weight for long periods, you see life differently. Small annoyances no longer bother you. Temporary setbacks no longer break you. You view difficulties as temporary, as part of the process, not as the end. That perspective keeps you calm and focused while others panic. It is also worth noting that an identity shaped by pressure is not self-centered. Struggles teach you empathy, humility, and compassion. You understand that everyone is carrying something. This awareness shapes you into a person who lifts others, who encourages, who supports. Your identity becomes bigger than yourself. It becomes a source of strength for those around you. When you endure constant pressure and let it shape you, you begin to notice a shift in your confidence. It is not the shallow confidence of arrogance, but the deep confidence of experience. You are not saying, "I think I can handle this." You are saying, "I know I can handle this because I already have." That confidence becomes part of your identity, and it shows in every action, every word, and every choice. This transformation is not about becoming hard or cold. Unbreakable does not mean unfeeling. It means strong yet compassionate, firm yet flexible, steady yet human. The best kind of identity is one that feels deeply but is not destroyed by feeling, one that cares fully but is not consumed by pain, one that loves deeply but does not lose itself when love is challenged. Allowing constant pressure to shape you also prepares you for legacy. What you become under pressure is what people will remember long after the moment has passed. They will not remember how easy your life was. They will remember how strong you were, how steady you were, how you refused to break. Your identity becomes not just your anchor, but your contribution to others. In the end, unbreakable identity is not given. It is earned. It is earned through the storms, the weight, the struggles and the tests of life. Each experience, no matter how painful, is part of the shaping. When you embrace this process, you stop fearing pressure. You begin to see it as the tool that builds you into someone real, someone grounded, someone lasting. So when pressure comes again, and it will choose to let it shape you, do not resist it. Do not hide from it. Lean into it. Learn from it. Allow it to strip away what is weak and polish what is strong. Over time, you will rise with an identity that is not fragile, not temporary, not breakable. You will rise with an identity that is solid, steady, and unshakable. And from that place, you will live with confidence, with clarity, and with purpose that no pressure can ever take away.